Hi guys, haven't done a mental health download for a while. In fact, I tried to do one last week and I was in such a mess. It just didn't feel appropriate. In fact, we've done that with a few things this week where we're kind of like, we're having a pre-production chat for How to Stay Married, but in the end decided it got too intense in a good way. So the How to Stay Married that's landing this week kind of speaks to that. Anyway, I just wanted to touch base. This is less a kind of mental health thing, but I'm wondering if it's a byproduct of mental health. Is anyone else feeling? I've woken up this morning, I've looked at all my stats, as a hypochondriac does. I'll turn those off. And it's not like I've got, my breathing's different, my heart rate's different. I feel so cotton woolly in my head. I feel literally like I've got, it's like someone's jammed a whole roll of cotton wool into my ears, and it's between my eyes and my head. It just feels like pressure. It feels like a literal physical pressure, and unfortunately this is the kind of, and the reason I wanted to go live, not go live, record this, what I'm going through right now at the back of my head is like is what a bipolar FIZZ is about. Now, the way it seems to spin or run for me, this can either precede a sort of manic high or a mania or a boost or a surge of productivity, positivity, possibility, you know, that whole thing. Or it can be a prelude to a sort of, I've described it before, a sort of matte, you know, when you get your photos printed analog style, let's say Snappy Snaps, and they say, do you want it gloss or do you want it matte? I always go matte. Normally people should go matte, it's just a nicer quality. But a matte black finish. And I feel a bit breathless, I feel anxious, but at the same time, it's not a speeding anxiety. It's like a slow, stretchy, plasticine-y, play-doughy with no play in it, kind of doughy in it type thing, apart from the smell. There's not even the nice smell of Play-Doh. I just feel very, very strange. And I've just, we're doing a later coffee moaning today. Got lots of other stuff I need to get on with and do and make and get across, and creative things are going kind of well in the background. I'm kind of making, I feel like I've passed a sort of block there, but I just feel, I don't know, I just don't feel like I'm in my own head. And as I walked around the park, it was almost like being a car that has such effective suspension. You know, when you go in a bone rattler car, Dino, my sister-in-law's got one where you get in and quite literally you feel the tarmac in your anus. And in a weird way, I feel like I've literally hovered, like in a Luke Skywalker's hover speeder, sand speeder, around the park, slightly removed from everything. Everything I looked at felt laden with some other kind of meaning. I mean, I don't mean like literally insane meaning, but kind of like everyone seemed slower than normal. The fact that the park's up in, it's a complete mess as they're kind of upgrading it and everything. It felt like there was a kind of bigger mission at work. It was all very, very strange. And I feel strange now, and I feel removed, and I feel, but this is the part I want to describe for anyone else. I have bipolar 2. It's not entirely unpleasant. It's not an entirely distressing thing. The frustration with it is I just know that it becomes a sort of marker in the sand of something else. It's also something that this is terrible, and this isn't because of Nadia, but this is the nature of being someone with a mental health condition in a family, is I don't really want to flag it up in case it manages to pass. But then if it doesn't pass, I want to be able to flag it up. But in flagging it up, I don't want to create the narrative of expectations that comes with flagging up a potential incoming bipolar dip or bipolar high. I mean, it's important to state my highs aren't the mania highs of kind of, you know, danger to self, danger to others. I know, I didn't realize type 2 can spin into type 1 across time. I'm putting things in place. I've got a couple of drop-in sessions happening with a therapist, so just literally to kind of help me rationale and contextualize and cope with a real living grief that I'm going through with my mum, and her frailty and her old agedness. I had a night with her last night, which was really fun, wasn't it, Mum? My mum doesn't really watch these pieces, but every now and then I think they probably hit play and she doesn't know how to turn them off. But we had a real laugh. I mean, I made her laugh. It was the darkest and most gallowest of humours. And boy, it was hot in her flat, Jesus. But we sat and we chatted and we laughed, and I've managed to get her to read a book, which feels really nice, being of service to her, getting her food in. She's got more ham than you could shake a stick at, in joke. As I say, I've got a therapist to kind of help me through the genuine kind of deeper reservoir of grief or loss or end of hope for certain types of things. I was talking to someone else, actually. I think I was talking to Dina about something else over the weekend. And I was saying one of the things that's tied into so many kind of relationships that can aggravate or amplify or activate mental health issues is a feeling of hope. And what I mean by that is sometimes the feeling of hope. I mean, how many relationships can you think of that you've been in, or we've all been in, where we hope the person changes perhaps in their perspective, not totally, but you hope things, you're right there, Toffs, you hope that things get better. You hope that somehow you'll both find a way out of whatever funk you're in. Me and Nadia have gone through that, many of those lows. I have hope around, and so there are many different types of hope around what I wanted and hoped my relationship with my mum would be and would become, around relatives, around children, around daughters, around friends, around, you know, both parents. Even though I don't know my father, I've lived with hope. And I think hope is weird because hope suggests you're quite a positive person. But when hope goes, and there's other aspects of our lives which Nadia's talked about, other friends and things that are going on for her that are really distressing and just basically sad and are inevitable. Obviously I'm talking about her friend Hannah, who's tragically very, very ill. What do you do when hope dies? I mean, we've talked a lot, ironically, about hope in politics, hope for the future, hope with Zach Polanski and the Green Party, hope with Mamdani. It's not even about that, you know, the idea isn't necessarily that they'll get it right, but it's the fact that they provide you with hope. And my fear around hope is that hope is defined by the fact that it doesn't happen. And that's quite depressing. Because I think the grief I'm feeling around so many things, and it's not just my mum, but it's other relationships, is the death, grieving the end of hope. Grieving the fact that hope was a mainstay of my relationship with those people. I was forever kind of hoping it would take this turn, take that turn. And that might require me to do something, it might require them to do something, but the hope was that it would change. Wow, how have I ended up with hope? I hope this strange head doesn't lead to a down. I mean, as I'm speaking to you now, it literally feels like, emotionally, like this part of my head here has been anaesthetized somewhat. It's like someone's gone in, it's almost, it's light and it's kind of fluffy, and it's like what are those balloons with the stuff that floats into the sky? Got a helium. It's like a helium balloon. The back of my head literally feels like a helium balloon, and I wouldn't be surprised if I was just sort of lifted skyward. Woo! So there you go. I just thought I'd touch base with you really about the fizzing and the feelings of grief around feeling hope or a lack of it. Does anyone else feel like that? Does anyone, and more generally, does anyone feel like there's a sort of strange plateauing moment here? I don't know whether it's because nothing's ended in global politics. You know, things don't just stop conveniently. What stops is the press stops covering it. But there is definitely a gear change, and I wonder whether we've all been in a state of readiness for, you know, the struggle to clarify, to educate, to remove injustice, to be of service to the Palestinians, to, you know, any underdog, anyone who's kind of being oppressed or taken advantage of, and that can stretch and spill into your personal life too. It just feels a bit plateaued. So when it's like you're stretched and stretched and stretched like a bungee cord. And whilst there's purpose and rationale and a target for all of that stretched energy, it's all well and good. But then when there's any give, which is only ever temporarily, It's only ever temporary. It kind of does that. And that letting go of something that's been overstretched is exactly what the back of my brain feels like right now. Guys, just to have a morning where one's head isn't forever in a state of flux and inquiry and disorientation and disturbance, it would be just joyful. Anyway, that's what I'd say in an early morning meeting.